It's time to change the power transformer on this 65 reissue Princeton Reverb. So let's get started. I'll start by confirming there's no voltage present in the amp. Oh wait, I gotta stop. It's got 37 millivolts. Kidding. That's no big deal. Let's snip this zip tie and look at everything that needs to be disconnected from this mess. All right. At this point, the transformer is no longer connected. Get these nuts shaken out. Let me get this ready inside before I put the Hammond in. I notice the heater connections are gone here, the wires there. It's going to be a lot less clutter. I have decided to charge this guy to spend an extra $15 or so of this client's money beyond what I quoted to him. Because since I do have to lift the board anyway, as in this process, I'm going to go ahead and change out these 4 filter caps. These icy brand filter caps love to fail. They fail all the time. These have not yet, but I'm sure they're thinking about it. The glue is pretty solid on that, but I'll get it out. They're inexpensive. It's about $15 worth of parts. The issue is, if it comes in again in a couple of years needing to have that done, I've got to take the amp completely apart, get to this point where the board's lifted up. That's all the labor. It's a different ticket. It's a $150 bench fee. I can do these 4 caps without adding much to the labor at all, and probably still fall under that bench fee to do all this, and he'll have new filter caps for additional 15 bucks. So I'm volunteering him to spend an extra 15, 20 bucks now and save himself an extra $180 not long down the road. Hope that makes sense. Okay, the old cap's out, the old leads are out, old excess silicone has gone off the board. On the other side, all the joints, all the solder pads where the caps used to be are nice and clean and defluxed. And I also have this hole and this hole ready for the new wires going to the rectifier tube. And put some new filter caps in place, then we'll get onto the transformer. All right, the new cap leads are soldered. They're all bent over before being soldered for some mechanical support in addition to the silicone beneath the caps. They're all pretty. So it is time to put this board back in place. I've got a new violet wire to go to the bias, red wire repurposed to go to the HT. Keep this in place, we'll put in the power transformer. All right, got the little Hammond in. It's an exact drop-in. I ordered the Hammond for a vintage Princeton Reverb rather than the reissue. The only difference is the HT's off by about 5 volts. I don't remember which. I think the reissue is a little bit hotter than the old one, but it's still going to be fine with modern wall voltages. This is not the exact part that Schumacher made back in the day. They've adjusted it for 120 volts coming out of the wall as far as the wall voltage and heater relationship goes. So I've just got to connect all these dots where they go, and I think I'm going to neaten up this little heater string that goes from the lamp over here just because it's a lot of excess, and I don't much care for excess. So check back with me in a minute. So I was putting in the new Carling power switch. The old one had quick connects poking out this way. We're not using quick connects. This is the new one like they used in the 60s, but notice that thin gap between this metal rim and these. I don't like that. It just has potential for arcing. So what I do is I very carefully bend these over before I install the wires and solder them. And on a good Carling switch like this, you can usually do that. It just gets a much nicer gap away from that. I'll refine it a bit when I get a little bit closer. The camera's in the way, but I just wanted to point that out. Much better. So the neutral goes straight to the primary. One primary. The hot goes to the inmost connector of the fuse holder. The other side of the fuse holder goes to the power switch, which goes to the other primary. I've got some new heater balance resistors tucked away on this octal socket. The heaters run straight to this octal socket, bypassing the board. These other wires going to the lamp are shortened up. HT center tap right here. all the stuff at the rectifier. I've got some additional unused secondaries taped off and heat shrinked and tucked away. Time to put in the new tongue saw 6v6 GTs that arrived and see how they do. I did initial power-ups with no issue. I put in the tongue saws, no issue. I've got them biased right now about 56% idle, which is just a little bit higher than I'd like because the wall voltage right now is at 124 volts rather than 120, which is pretty common in this town. And a little bit of leeway is nice. So I haven't had a chance to hear this amp before because it had a dead short in the power transformer. So let's see how it's doing now. No noise in any of the pots. Let me hook up a reverb tank. Well, at least with my test tank, it is. So hopefully the one that's in the cabinet will be fine. And hopefully the one in the speaker in the cabinet is fine. I think this is a very healthy amp. Very nice little amp. For those of you who enjoyed yesterday's video, the amp's under $500. Thank you very much, everyone. The response has been great. I'm going to get to the next one as soon as I can. Amps under 1,000. Videos like that take a long time to put together, and I've got a lot of amps going, so it may be next weekend. I don't know before I can get to that. The Princeton reissue will be making that list of amps under 1,000. Occasionally you'll find one under 500, but usually in the $600 to $800 range, I think, right now, as far as use goes. And it can be a good choice, and I will discuss the Fender reissues, pretty much the entire range, aside from sometimes the Super Reverb, can be had for under 1,000 used. And I'll be discussing those, but they're all of them share the same issues. And I'll go ahead and point these out in this video while I have your attention, especially if you're new to the channel, you only discovered me recently or through that video yesterday. The filter caps that they use, these are not they, these are the ones I replaced, are really cheap. The cheapest ones the Illinois cap company makes, and that's what Fender specs out, and they fail a lot. You saw an example of that with the leakage in the Hot Rod Deluxe in yesterday's video. So to change them out, particularly on the Princeton, is not expensive or difficult. They have these green heater wires that I have here that you can't see. Let me move the camera. The stock green heater wires on the Fender reissues go with quick connects to the board. The quick connects almost always cannot handle that current over time, and they burn, and you have board damage, and you have transformer damage, etc., etc. And so those are the two big flaws of the Fender reissue series. That's everything from the Champ, if there is a Champ, I don't know if there's a Champ, from the Princeton, definitely a Princeton up to the Twin and the Super Reverb, the big ones. And that's just a matter of having a tech move the heater wires from the board directly to one of the octal sockets, and having a tech change out the little gray IC filter caps for these F&Ts. And once you do that, and maybe reflow the solder on the input jacks or the pots, because those joints can break if the pot nut is not tight on the chassis in front. Other than that, they're very good amps. This one had a faulty power transformer, which is rare. I don't encounter that a lot on the reissue series. This is the first Princeton, certainly, that's had that issue. But the good news on that is the replacement from Hammond here was $85, and they're easy to install, and that's a higher quality component than the original, which tells you why we're getting amps for certain prices these days. So, you do get what you pay for, but the reissue series amps can be made to be very, very good amps for the price point. Tomorrow I'll do a real playing video of this. I'll mic up the cab, making sure that its original speaker and its reverb tank are good, but my wrist is hurting. I sprained my wrist, oh, was that last week? And I've been in a brace all of last week. I took it off 3 days ago, and I've been wearing it a couple hours a day here and there. But this amp involved a lot of screwdriver and wrench stuff, and my wrist is saying no thank you. So I'm going to stop here for now. Hope you enjoyed this. Thanks for your support.